say I'm a pretty big Initial D fan would be an understatement, and pretty much everyone I know who's seen Initial D and are a fan of it really want to be in it or experience the Toga in real life. I do own an Initial D Stage 4 Japanese 2-player arcade cabinet. I drive an 86, not that one unfortunately, but the new one, which Initial D's sequel MF Ghost is based on. However, nothing compares to being in a real life A86 on the Toga, racing Japanese classics like Evos, RX-7s and Skylines. So what if I told you there was actually a way you could experience being in it in real life? Well, let me show you. So many people know about the Tokyo Geopolis Initial D 4th Stage Limited experience. It looks insane, and from the minute I seen it, I knew I wanted to experience it. The only problem is, it was in Japan, and I was on the other side of the world. I said for a few years that I'd love to travel over and visit it, but I was in college and knew it would be not feasible for at least a few years. By the time I had finished college, it had been removed, unfortunately. However, I did some more searching and discovered that D4 Limited wasn't the only simulator ever made of Initial D, and Sega also released a super realistic simulator called Cycraft, developed with Simuline, and one of the games released for it was actually Initial D Arcade Stage 3. Now, I first read about it in 2019, and again, according to any trackers of information I could find, there was 0 cabinets in public operation at that time. I checked Xenius iVanisher, the arcade tracking site. There was hope, but only a little. You see, this site tracks arcade cabinets around the world. There was one mention of a publicly playable cabinet in Blackpool, but it was off for some time. Next came the COVID pandemic, and I kept looking up videos of people doing tours of this arcade, but it was off in every one. It must have been broken, as apparently it's extremely expensive to fix as a cabinet. I planned a trip to see Arcade Club Blackpool in 2022. However, what I really wanted to play was this cabinet in a nearby arcade. However, the most recent video captured of this place, taken by a customer only a couple of weeks before, showed the cabinet off. After years of speculation, people online suggested that it likely would just get scrapped. I didn't hold out much hope. However, I did go there on my trip, and to my surprise, boom, it was there, working and running. I couldn't believe it, in all honesty. The cabinet and the experience I've always wanted to try for years was finally here, and working. I was genuinely shocked. I even first expected it to be maybe on, but maybe the motion turned off, or maybe to have issues, but no, it was really here, and working perfectly. Really surprising after 3 years of inactivity. So this is one of the first videos I've actually seen of someone playing this game on board, and I thought it was important to, I suppose, record this because I don't know how much longer this is actually going to be here. This could be removed like really soon. Who knows? It was converted to LCD, but it looks okay. I think Initial D is quite good on kind of LCD. It's not like some of the older games. But yeah, this is kind of the first onboard videos I've seen, and I used a gimbal when I recorded this too, which is sort of interesting because it should help show you the motion and how kind of crazy insane it is. So yeah, there's all the kind of usual cars. It's actually a great selection of cars in Stage 3, which I actually hadn't played before, so it's my first time ever playing Arcade Stage 3, and it's on a Cycraft, so that's kind of crazy. So I went into Legend of the Streets, which is kind of the regular racing kind of story mode, and then I can select which track you want. So I had kind of all of the familiar ones. Some ones I didn't really recognise from previous games, but obviously they're from the series. So yeah, good selection of tracks, and it definitely did feel a bit older than like Stage 4. I know it was a different engine, but the game itself, let's see when it comes up here, it definitely felt like an Initial D game. It felt really good. Doesn't quite feel like the newer ones on Stage 4, Stage 8. I've actually played not the arcade, the one before that. Yeah, so I've played a lot of the Initial D games, and Stage 3 definitely, as I said, felt older, but still felt like a good Initial D game. You know, probably one of the best racing franchises of all time. So yeah, it took me a while to get the hang of this. I had to play this one-handed, so well for the first part anyway, and then I kept the camera outside the cabinet. It's really hard to tell how good the motion is on this cabinet. Like, as I said, I use a gimbal to try and show that, so that, you know, the camera should stay dead center, but Yeah, it's full like up, down, left, right. You know, it nearly feels like the old Afterburner Deluxe sort of type motion in terms of, you know, how realistic and how good it feels. So yeah, unfortunately I never got to play Arcade Stage Limited, which is a shame. But I feel like this is probably the next best thing to it. You know, you can see here now, I'm actually holding this camera straight, or as straight as I can, and it's just going absolutely crazy. So the minute you put your foot down, you know, the whole cabinet goes up. Yeah, still getting the hang of the controls here, and trying to do Initial D one-handed is almost impossible as well. So yeah, I think it's really cool, and yeah, I just think Initial D is just such a good franchise, and it's a pity they're not really releasing new things like this. I think Simuline and Sega did a great job on it. Who knows? I know Sega were taken over by international investment, Sega Amusement, so probably never going to see something like this again. But it's great that we did see this. Now, I'm saying here that this is the last cabinet. There may be some more out there. Just Googling online and Reddit and the arcade trackers doesn't have any of these cabinets, and certainly all the major chains and franchises are on them. But it's likely there is probably one somewhere hidden in the States or hidden elsewhere in public operation. You know, keep your eyes peeled. Even if there was, though, you know, it wouldn't be really feasible for me going over and visiting them, because I'm in Ireland. So yeah, Blackpool was the only kind of feasible place that I could have experienced this. But yeah, kind of an amazing experience. And it's actually funny, Ireland doesn't have really too many Initial D fans, not that I know of anyway, but we have an absolutely crazy AE86 scene here. There is hundreds of them here, and like I read online something like 48 were ever sold here of the 11 A86s, so they're in the Initial D too, but I know the one that is famous is the Treno. Now there is Trenos here too, I've seen them myself, I've seen tons of them, but yeah, there's been hundreds and hundreds imported from England particularly, and from other countries. We even had AE86 Festival here, and it happens every year, where there's like hundreds of AE86s. I think there was nearly 200 there last year. Some come from abroad, and most of them are kind of regular ones. So yeah, we've just a nuts AE86 scene here. It's kind of crazy. I even remember I went to a random petrol station near a rally in Killarney, which is like one of the big ones here, and there was 5 A86s at it, so the Irish really loved them. And if you Google it or look on YouTube, you'll probably see why. Yeah, that was a bit of a detour from the main subject, I suppose, but still related. Absolutely amazing car, and I suppose amazing game. If you ever get to try the Cycraft D3, absolutely. If you know, I'm possibly going to go back to Blackpool at some stage. Yeah, 100% going to try that again, and yeah, definitely one of the best racing games of all time. I think I'd be interested in a kind of two-player setup, but it's unlikely we're ever going to see that again now, because most of, you know, the Dave & Buster's and bigger franchises seem to have removed all their cabinets a long time ago. Apparently very costly to keep operational too, so yeah, so happy to finally get to play it. But I think that's it for today, and yeah, if you like this format, let me know. I suppose just me talking my thoughts and opinions on the game, and absolutely amazing to get to play it. So thanks so much for watching, and hope you enjoyed.